Hey, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Mitch Bell, I'm your host for Tall Tales with Taco on Tuesday. I want to thank Michael Costanza again for that awesome introduction that he made for me a while back. That thing is phenomenal. A little bit too fast, but that's good. That means you got to stop it, slow it down just to read all the quotes. And I'll tell you right now, they're all Chesty Puller quotes because, damn it, I'm a Marine, right? So going to have that. Hey, tonight is my wife's and it's our anniversary. So if you guys know my wife, tell her thank you for letting me have Tall Tales with Taco. I hate to admit that I wasn't looking at the dates in a Tuesday. And yeah, we're going to celebrate our anniversary tomorrow night with good friends of ours, Terry and Bernie Christian. So tell my wife, if you know her, thank you for letting Mitchell do this tonight. Tonight, of all nights, I have a really good friend of mine I've known for years named Gene Pugh. And Gene Pugh was Special Forces in Vietnam and just an incredible guy. He attends our monthly meetings. We joke he's our token Army guy and comes out and spends lunch with a bunch of jarheads. And we love him to death. And I'm going to bring Gene on the show. We're going to have a great conversation. I hope you enjoy it. When we get towards the end or whenever, if you have questions, feel free to go ahead and type the questions in. I'll be able to pull them up and look, and we'll get them over to Gene to answer. So without further ado, Gene Pugh, yeah, big round of applause. How you doing, brother?
How are we doing? We're doing great. And thank you so much for your wife letting you spend some time with me.
Man, I tell you what, I know Phyllis would have your butt out the door going, what do you mean, Tall Tales with Taco? I'm waiting for Rihanna, baby. Let's go.
That is so true. You better believe it. Better believe it. Yes, definitely.
I hear her in the background. She knows.
She's in the background.
Yeah, say Taco.
How are you?
Good to hear
from you. You have to pop in. You have to pop in behind Gene here real quick so everyone can see you. There you go. All right. All right.
Yeah.
So as I was telling folks, you were Special Forces, but I mean, back in the day, take me back. How did Special Forces even come about? Because I mean, as a Marine, that's not my forte.
Well, it's kind of start off with the Army needed a guerrilla kind of outfit. Kind of based on the Jedburghs of World War II, the OSS and the 101st OSS detachment there in the Pacific. But they wanted it a little bit larger because they knew of the communist threat that was in Europe. So the 77th Special Forces Group came into being. And shortly after that, the 10th Group was developed and was sent to Europe. They were sent to Bad Tolz. And a lot of these men were World War II and Korean veterans. It was a 12-man team, 2 officers and 10 enlisted men, and there was a redundancy in their MOSs. You would have operations and intelligence, heavy and light and heavy weapons, medics, radio operators, and demolitions men. And those that went to Europe were usually what I would call former DPs, displaced people. These were European.
All right. They came from the stockade, like that movie, right? Dirty
Dozen. Yes. In fact, they these were displaced people from Europe. Some of them were actually former German soldiers from the Wehrmacht. And Czechoslovakian partisans and things of that nature. And so they went to Europe, and this was their backyard. So they were back at home there. So a lot of the people that went to Europe, they spoke the native tongue like a native. They knew the backyards. They knew the hiding places and everything else. So if anything blew up in Europe, these were the guys that would do the stay behind in Europe.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah. In fact, my first operational team in Fort Bragg was comprised of former DPs. I mean, I had Tibor Bierbaum, who was a Hungarian freedom fighter.
Mm-hmm.
Jerry Kropik, World War II German paratrooper.
And all these guys were U.S. soldiers now.
Yes, yes.
Oh, wow.
Martin Urich. Martin Urich was a tank commander in the Battle of Kursk, the largest tank battle during World War II. And then we had other individuals, George Moshkaluk, and I mean, the names, I mean, it's just unbelievable.
Yeah.
Those were my mentors.
Wow. I bet you had some good stories.
You have no idea some of the stories of these men. Kropik, for an example. I had just gotten my orders for Vietnam. And of course, I wanted to know what was it going to be like over there.
Mm-hmm.
So, of course, in his German accent, he says, we go sandpit. So we go to the sandpit behind the barracks, and he brings out these little Mattel toys. And he says, do ambush. So I'd get my little trucks out, and I get my little men and everything else, and I buy the book. He looks at it, hits me on top of the head. Bam! You failed. You die. What do you mean? And I explained everything to him that it was a textbook ambush.
Right.
He says, you do not put man on top of hill. That man sees reaction force. You fail. You die. Oh, my God. Do again. So I did it again. And I'm very proud that I did it again. You know, just, yes, sir. You fail. You die. I put the man on top of the hill. Yes. But right here, this position, your man cannot see reaction force. You fail. You die.
Oh, man.
And when we would go out on field exercises, I'll never forget it. He put his hand on my shoulder. He said, what do you see? I see ambush. Good, good. Where? Over there. Machine gun. Good, machine gun. Why there? He says, well, there's a field of fire, and I explained everything to him. He says, good, 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 good. How you attack? I says, there was a blind spot over here. Good, good, good. Walk maybe 50 yards or so. Stop. What do you see? Ambush. Got to the point where then I would stop. And I would say, ambush. Good, 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 good. So he wanted me to recognize the ambush sites. Mm-hmm. And because of that, I'm still here today.
And that was in 64.
Not only that, but you see, after World War II, he became a border guard on the Czechoslovakian border. Spent a couple of years there, defected, and joined the French Foreign Legion, and was at the Battle of Dien Bien Phu.
Really?
The man had the humor of a pit bull, tough as nails.
How did he go from the French Foreign Legion to U.S. Army?
Well, when he did his tour with the French Foreign Legion, he went back to Europe. And Kropik was what I would call a tank. Short, virtually no neck, just powerfully built. And he got into a fight with a man who was actually smaller than him, and he got beaten. And Kropik never gets beaten.
Right.
And he says, I want to join the outfit of that man. Turns out to be Special Forces. And that's how he got into Special Forces.
So you started out in 64, Special Forces?
66, February of 66.
And Special Forces was created in the 50s.
52. So it was still young. It was still going through its growing pains and everything else. In fact, in 61, the beret came about.
Right.
With John F. Kennedy. At that time, the beret was being used unofficial. And
unofficial by Special Forces, or just
just unofficial,
any soldier?
By Special Forces, yes. And General Yarborough wanted the beret as a distinctive headgear. And John F. Kennedy was coming down to do a little tour down there in Fort Bragg, 61. So he said, we're going to do a parade for him. So they did the dog and pony show for him and the whole bit. And everybody was out there in their berets. I don't think any two of them actually matched.
Yeah, run around with Girl Scout berets on.
Girl
Where they're
Scout
trying to
berets,
find every one of them.
As long as they put something on their head, yes. And President Kennedy was very impressed by all of this. And of course, with the dog and pony show. And shortly after that, the beret was authorized by President Kennedy.
Oh, cool.
So there was a lot of, how should we say, animosity between special forces and the regular army, because we became Kennedy's own, so to speak.
Right. I do remember hearing about that.
Yeah.
And then, of course, Green Beret comes out. And when did John Wayne make that movie?
He made that movie, I believe, was in '67. And funny you should mention that. At that time, I was part of a demonstration team for a short period of time. And John Wayne had seen, not our demonstration team, but had seen a demonstration team. And he says, I want to have those people in my film. And if you recall, in the first part of the movie of the Green Berets, you have the Special Forces A team that speaks all these languages. Mm-hmm. Remember that? That was going to be our team. And we were all excited. I mean, really, we were going to be Hollywood stars. I mean,
right on the big screen.
And so about a week before we were supposed to go down to Fort Benning, we get the word that you're not going to go. What do you mean we're not going to go? Because we have certain people in your team that had been in Detachment Alpha Berlin, which is a top secret organization at the time, and we can't have their faces 10 feet up on a screen.
Oh, God, no, man, that's your one shot.
Yeah, so this is our shot for stardom, and we couldn't take it. So they got the guys from the 7th group, sent them down there, and they did their thing. But I could have been somebody back then, you know.
Hey, you had the mustache. Hold on one second. I'm going to pull this up. This is a young Gene right here on the left side. He just got back from Vietnam, and that's your brother.
That's correct.
Who retired Master Sergeant or something in the Air Force.
He retired as an E9, Chief Master Sergeant in the Air Force.
And look at you, man. So that is Special Forces flash right there on your shoulder below airborne. Wow, that's incredible, man. You're a good-looking dude, and you've got the mustache, and you're still rocking a mustache all these years later.
Only shaved it one time. That mustache came on in May, June of '68. Uh-huh. And I've only shaved it off one time since then.
And what was that?
In Vietnam.
What was that occasion, I should say?
Was that?
I should say, what was that occasion?
The occasion was a little infection that a lot of us got from mildew or fungus or something or other with hair and what have you. And so I had to shave it off just briefly. But that was it.
You're lucky you can grow one. I tried to grow we had the mustache contest in Iraq. And I grew this thing. And if you looked at me, it looked like pigpen. It looked like I had dirt on my lip. And when I turned this way, you could see it. And so I took a picture of me face on and then had a picture taken side profile where you could see the bushy mustache. It comes in blondish red. And my wife goes, no. I'm like, all right, I lose, guys. I shaved it off. I give up because I got guys like you fighting against guys like you. I'm never going to win a cool mustache contest.
The thing about it is I cannot grow a beard. I mean, I would look like Yasser Arafat if I grew one.
Get a little
ugly and spatchy, and I can't grow one.
So you grow your mustache, your special forces, and then you end up going to Vietnam. When was this? In '67.
68. I got there in May of '68. Got there in May of '68, right after Tet and Khe Sanh.
And Vietnam's booming. So where are you based out of?
I am based, when I first got there, went to 5th group. And at 5th group, we got our assignments, and I got assigned to CNC detachment, which was actually working for MACVSOG. MACVSOG was Military Assistance Command, Vietnam Studies and Observation Group. CNC detachment was just right underneath it. It was one of those parent companies or organizations under MACVSOG. And I was assigned to Da Nang, which was FOB4. And at the very beginning, I was assigned to the TOC, Tactical Operations Center, in the Message Center. And I had to get a replacement for me to go to the recon teams. In better words, if I could get a replacement for me, I would go to the recon teams. And trust me, I was looking hard to get a replacement for myself. And finally got a replacement, went to the recon teams, and I got assigned to RT-Asp. FOB4, we were the snakes. RT Viper, RT Anaconda, RT Coral, Fer-de-Lance, Bushmaster, things of that nature. And we were RT-Asp. RT-Asp had been wiped out March of 1968. The whole team.
Really? How many guys are we talking about?
We're talking about, I think it was six or eight men. Of course, there were 3 Americans, and probably 5 indigenous personnel.
Right.
They got wiped out. And then Larry Trimble resurrected the team in September of 68. And I joined the team in November of 68.
Okay.
And
you had MVA guys working with you, right?
Our team was comprised of former North Vietnamese, the enemy.
How do you get those guys to fight for us?
I would imagine it kind of goes back to Don Corleone. They would make them an offer they can't refuse.
That or chuck your ass out of a helicopter, right?
Right, something like that. And in fact, Nguyen, who was our 01, which is the Vietnamese team leader, was actually a former officer. He was a captain.
Really?
Yeah, he was a captain. And he had 4 years experience, straight combat experience when he got on the team. So this man was a hardened combat soldier. And we relied on his experience to get us out of trouble. And a little funny story, when we were first going through the training phase with the team, we had just finished what we call riding the rope, meaning that we're dangling underneath a helicopter about 100 feet for an extraction purpose. And we had started walking off the LZ, and Nguyen comes over here and grabs my hand. And we're walking off the field holding hands. 2 men, grown men, right, holding hands. And it felt kind of weird, but I remembered going through the combat orientation course that if a Vietnamese man shows respect to you, he will hold your hand.
Oh.
So I figured, okay, he trusts me. He likes me, so to speak. He is not going to betray me. So from that point on, I felt comfortable with him. So that was it. And then later on, we had gotten into a fur ball with the bad guys, and a grenade landed on the other side of a rock,
right?
Whatever it was, tree trunk, and it exploded and kind of knocked the breath out of me. And Dewey, who was our medic, crawled up and dragged me. I don't know, 20 yards or so. So yeah, I trusted him. Yeah.
Wow. Did you guys ever have any incidents where it was blue on blue, or green on blue, or anything like that?
No.
Yeah, we say not green on green, or blue on blue.
Yeah, no, we didn't have that problem there. In fact, on one occasion, it didn't happen to us, but it did happen. Well, I take that back. It might have happened to us, except that things were going on so fast that I might have missed the translation, because they were yelling and screaming at us, and they were yelling and screaming at them. But I know for a fact that on one of the teams, the North Vietnamese were yelling for the Vietnamese to give up the Americans. and to say, hey, give up the Americans and you will be saved. And basically, they flicked them the finger and threw a couple of grenades and said, hell no.
And whatever happened to this captain?
The captain, after I left, he got killed.
Did he?
Yeah.
I was going to say,
in fact, as far as I know, all the Vietnamese members after I left were killed shortly afterwards. After I left in May of '69, I think it was in August, 3 of them got killed. And then shortly after that, the rest of them got killed in 1s and 2s. Yeah. It was a rough business. It was a rough business.
Well, your book, my mom always gives me a hard time if I don't throw the book up so people could see it, but I could do this.
Yeah.
Look at that, man. How about that? Look, surrender not an option. Now this book is a work of fiction.
Correct.
But loosely based on real stuff, right? So
right.
So you can kind of get around the Pentagon on that. Unfortunately, Rob, who shot bin Laden, didn't quite get around that one.
That's true.
Great book, very interesting. So all your stories in here are essentially true.
They are. You look at it, and it's about 85-90% fact and 10 to 15% not so fact.
Yeah. Or things changed around.
Yeah, kind of changed around a little bit. Give you an example. The nurse, Wendy. Wendy is a composite character of about 8 or 9 nurses. Mm-hmm. And my wife Phyllis and I were at an air show. And Alan Clark, I think you know Alan, was there. And I had the manuscript with me. And we were at lunch. And there was a nurse at the lunch table with us. And I gave her the manuscript for her to read, so to speak. And she was reading through it. And all of a sudden she says, Gene, I think you nailed it. I says, thank you very much. She says, no, you nailed it.
Good.
Right then and there, before we could hear it, we felt it. And we both said, Huey. And then we heard it. And I made the comment, that sound to me is a sound of salvation, a hot meal, and a warm bed. Mm-hmm. And she said, that sound is desperation, pain, and death.
Yeah.
Same sound.
Yeah.
And so I had to incorporate that into the book. So we came back to the house, went through the January chapter, and inserted that in that January chapter. And then it went to print 2 weeks later.
Oh, wow. How long did it take you to write that?
The book actually took over 15 years.
Wow, that's a long time.
Because there were times when, even though it's fiction, it is fiction. But I used there's a lot of personal things that I remembered. Mm-hmm. And I would be sitting at the typewriter or the computer, and there were memories that I had suppressed so far down. And all of a sudden they started to come up. Mm-hmm. That I would literally be at the key, and my hands would start to shake, and the deep breathing and everything else, and I would have to stop and put everything on save and wouldn't touch anything for 3, 4, 5 months.
Wow.
And then come back.
Do you find that I find personally that writing helps bring out a lot of stuff that you're not thinking about? Good therapy. Good therapy. Did it help you?
That's exactly what it was. For me, writing the book was very therapeutic. Very therapeutic. And so, yeah, to me, that was great. And then I started asking, my buddies about their experiences and so on and so forth. And the book took another turn because I was going to put their names and their stories in. But then I noticed that it was kind of losing a little bit. So I said, why don't I just create this one character, Purvis, and have all these things happen to Purvis?
Sure.
You know, so that way the audience, the reader can follow Purvis all through the entire book, and every chapter becomes a month in Vietnam.
And how long did you spend in combat total?
Wow, in combat from that would make it what, November, October through April of '69. So that was April, November. I mean, October, November of '68 through April of '69. So a little over 6 months.
Right.
But then, of course, we would go on a mission. We would have then a 3-day stand down, and then we would be put down at the bottom of the recon list. But we only had 14 teams at Da Nang at that time, so it didn't take very long to get back up to the top again.
Sure.
You know, and some missions were weathered out. I had a couple of missions where we got to the LZ and never got off the LZ. Never made it to the tree line.
Really? I mean, you guys were attacked that fast?
We were attacked that fast. We got off the helicopter, and as soon as the helicopters left, we got pinned down on the LZ. The helicopters did a 360, and it was hell on earth.
Yeah, yeah.
It was hell on earth, and like the old saying goes, you know, that God protects idiots and babies. Idiot. And a lot of times we were lucky to either have been in a situation where we were down in a little draw, a little slight depression, and the bullets had a chance went over us.
Right.
Or sometimes there were just bad shots. Thank God for that. And of course the Cobras, and I want to thank the Marine Cobras.
Really? Awesome.
Oh yes, Scarface.
Oh yeah, 360,
367
or 367. Yeah,
367. And Scarface would come in, and they would rake the tree line with a lot of piss and destruction.
Right.
And that got us out of there. And so yes, the Marines, they did wonders for us.
Who normally took you in on your extractions or your insertion?
It depended. Sometimes we would have the Comancheros from the 101st, Ghost Riders also. We would also have the 219th South Vietnamese Air Force. They were the King Bee, and they flew the old H-34.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Wow.
H-34 helicopters with a big old radial engine in front.
Yeah.
And there was a saying among them: King Bee take you in, King Bee take you out. Then we go home.
So tell our viewers what it was like. So you get inserted, you're in a 7-man team, 8-man team, you've got 5 MVA, former MVA.
We would run, normally it would be an even number. My particular team was very superstitious. So we never went out with an odd number. Again, each team has their own little idiosyncrasies, you know. We would either go with an 8-man team or a 6-man team, but never with a 7 or never with a 9. Again, bad juju.
Right.
Bad juju. And so after Tony Bandiera, who lives down the street here, got medevaced, then it was just 2 Americans, Phil, Quinn, and myself. Mm-hmm. And so then it would be just an 8-man team, or sometimes we wouldn't, and depending, the mission dictates how many men you go in with. If we were going to go into an area where there was high altitude up in the mountains, and we were inserted by the Vietnamese, the H-34s, density altitude.
Sure, they couldn't make it. Yeah.
Right. So we would go in with a 6-man team all of us would go into one helicopter and go up there.
How much supplies did you carry when you went in on an operation like
Normally,
this? Ammo, food?
A lot of ammo, very little food, because we knew that we were not going to stay there the entire 7 days. We were programmed for 7 days, but we knew that you were not going to stay there 7 days. I think the longest I ever stayed there was 4.
Let me ask you this. You always see in the movies, the guy sitting there in the jungle, he's all cammied up and the snake just crawls by. Did the Vietnamese just grab the snake, cut it up, and you guys cook it up later, or what?
No.
Did you ever come across stuff like that?
To be honest with you, I never came across a snake. I mean, they were there. They were there. There's no doubt about it. They were there. I just never saw one.
Yeah.
I did see the paw print of a tiger.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I did see the paw print of a tiger once. Did see what was described to me an elephant trail, where elephants through the jungle, they go in single file. And so you have an elephant trail.
Right.
Monkeys, yes. Tons of them. And
did the monkeys, like birds, do monkeys get louder when people are around? So if you're sitting in an ambush position somewhere, you hear the monkeys going?
It depends. They would chatter. The jungle is very strange. There were times when you'd be going through the jungle and it would just get quiet, just like that.
Right.
Heartbeats going like a mile a minute, and you don't know if it's the enemy or a large predator. You have no idea. And first thing you do is look around, and in a lot of cases you look for jungle visibility. Or you have just 5 yards jungle visibility, or you have 20 yards jungle visibility.
Right.
And then you stay put. You just hunker down, and then you get one of the men who's dressed up in a North Vietnamese uniform, usually tan or tin, and we tell him, go up, look around. So he would go up and circle around to see if there's any activity. And then we would wait for the jungle to come back alive, and then we would move.
Ooh, wild. Yeah, I know that feeling. I know that feeling that you're talking about.
Yeah.
I mean, I was in Tokyo walking along this ridge line, and the wind, it was kind of calm in there, and then the birds all stopped.
Yes. And
it was very spooky, and I stopped, and I'm just kind of looking around like, that's weird. It's like somebody turned off a light switch.
Right.
In silence. And then this 747, I didn't realize I was on the ridge right next to Narita Airport, and the 747 flew overhead, and the vortices flew down, and the trees start whipping, and then when it stopped, the birds started chirping again. I was like,
yeah,
that was bizarre. So it got quiet. A plane was coming. In your case, guys were prowling around, right?
Oh yeah, they would be prowling around. And each AO, area of operations, is different. Mm-hmm. It's different. You went further north in Laos, you would see a lot of the limestone karst, the limestone mountains, so to speak. And you go a little further south, a little bit more jungly. And the terrain just changes left and right. Unbelievable.
Now tell a story about following the Marines.
We were up in the what we call the tri-border area, and that's where North Vietnam, South Vietnam, and Laos is, that little 3 countries there. And the initial mission was to go in and look for a POL pipeline, petroleum oil lubricant pipeline, and a major trail
in the jungle. These guys were ingenious enough to build a pipeline?
Yes. Yes.
Wow.
And so that was our initial mission. This particular area The western part of it was what we call brown, that had a lot of defoliant in that area. Where we were was green. And there was a lot of footpaths. And we had just finished taking a break, and we were just about getting ready to move, and we got the tap. And sure enough, right up ahead, here comes this 4-man, 5-man Marine patrol, and they're on this footpath. And they're just diddy-bopping along. Quinn and I look at each other. What do we do? Let them go. We were just about ready to move again, and all of a sudden, here's this North Vietnamese patrol. And they're right behind the Marines. So Quinn looks at me and he goes, let's go follow them. So we follow the North Vietnamese patrol. Now, I'm the tail gunner. I'm in the back.
Right.
And it wasn't very long. All of a sudden, all hell breaks loose up in front. I mean, all hell breaks loose. Full automatic, AK-47, Car 15. I mean, it's just going bonkers up in front. I don't know what's going on. All of a sudden, I hear is, go back, go back, go back, go back. So I'm turning around, going back on the trail, and I've got Chuck in front of me. Who was behind me. Now he's in front. So now we're running down the trail.
Right.
And all of a sudden, he just breaks left. And of course, I'm following him. So I break left, not knowing that he had seen a North Vietnamese patrol that was coming down the trail following us. I hadn't seen it. So we just went in there, and there was this little slight depression. I don't think they had seen us yet. But the bad guys were shooting.
Uh-huh.
The guys in front thought that they were being shot at, so they started returning fire. So here are these two bad guys shooting at each other. And so we were able to kind of thread the needle underneath their fire and get out of there. We ran into another patrol later on that afternoon, and we got extracted, and that was it. But I never found out what happened to the Marines.
Now, were they recon guys or something?
Oh, they were recon guys. Yeah, they were recon guys.
Do you think that they knew the MVA, or the MVA was following them, or just?
I have no idea. Or
it was just a trail that, common trail highway.
It was just a common trail, a little footpath, little. That place was just crisscrossed with footpaths. I mean, it's unbelievable. And prior to that, a few hours prior to that, after breakfast, we had started leaving our RON, remain overnight, and we had breakfast there. And we got tapped on the shoulder that one of our Vietnamese needed to go to the bathroom really, really bad. Mm-hmm. So we just kind of stayed in place, and a Nook went over to a tree, took off his pants and everything else. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, I mean, it was just, they were there. North Vietnamese patrol walks right by us, right in front of us. Never saw us.
Really? And they didn't see the guy taking a dump?
All I remember is I looked back at Nook. His eyes were that big. I'm looking at Quinn. Quinn is going, oh my God. And there's this long thing coming out of his butt as he's doing the thing.
But he's dressed as a North Vietnamese, so their initial reaction, he could bluff his way through that.
Could have bluffed him, yes, could have. But it was just, they just went chatter, chatter, chatter right by us.
Wow.
Right by us, about 10 yards, 10, 15 yards right by us. Like, again, God protects babies and idiots.
Yeah, we say drunk idiots and Marines.
Yeah, true.
So, I mean, did you guys ever open up on a situation like that? You got the upper hand?
No, because we were there to collect information.
I see.
We're there to collect information.
Purely defensive.
That's it. We get compromised, then yes, we fight. But the initial thing is to go in, gather the information, and get out without getting caught. Unfortunately, that was not the norm. That was the exception. Yeah. And the more and more we went out, it seems like the enemy knew where we were.
Really?
And
how was that?
oh yeah, we found out later that there was a mole in the North Vietnamese higher command, and they knew that there was a team or something or other was there in a general area.
One of your guys?
No, it was a Vietnamese guy. Actually, a North Vietnamese agent was in the South Vietnamese high command.
Gotcha. That makes sense.
So yeah, we had our problems there. I ran 4 missions back to back where we were ambushed right on the LZ.
Right.
And it got to the point where that really affected you mentally.
Yeah. Am I that unlucky or are we that screwed?
Right. And so it got to the point where we were just gun shy, basically. You know,
right.
Is our next mission going to be like that? Are we going to get it on the LZ? That kind of stuff. And again, Scarface came to the rescue. Cannot say enough good things about these guys. These guys were fearless. I mean, undocumented heroism was every day.
Right.
Every day. Every day.
And so did you go back and say, hey, look, time out. We got to reevaluate. Or did you do some PSYOPs where you planned a mission to the SLZ, but you went to another one? Well, how did you defeat that?
Well, what they were doing was that we started launching out of NKP in Thailand. And because if you launched out of NKP, this is where it gets really, really tricky. Thailand was neutral.
Yeah.
Technically
speaking. We had bases in Karat.
Right. And we would launch into Laos, which was neutral. Mm-hmm. We could not spend the night in Thailand. If you got into Thailand, you had to go into insert but you couldn't spend a night. You had to come back to South Vietnam.
Stupid rules.
I know, but you know how rules are. And if you launched out of Thailand, the South Vietnamese had no idea as to the target. It was the Air Force that was putting it in. So that was one way how to defeat them.
Ah, nice.
But yeah, so we did a lot of missions out of Thailand, and we would go with the Jolly Greens, the CH-3s. Mm-hmm. And when we went further north, we would get refueled at a CIA camp there. And because the CH-3 didn't have the air-to-air refueling capabilities at that time. Right. And so that's how we did that.
Now, did you guys go in and do the grab a general officer, sneak him out of his hooch, and never do any extractions like that?
Not quite. However, funny you should mention that. From time to time, my team never did it, but there were times that we would have a special individual that would have a specific skill, such as a sniper, or he was, for example, in one mission, Bill Werther took this guy. He was a Marine. He was a Marine. Took with him, and he had a deal where it was for wiretapping, and he was an expert at wiretapping. Had this new device and everything else. Took him along. A couple of guys from Kontum took a couple of snipers from the 4th Infantry Division, and so on and so forth. We had 6 Navy SEALs that ran recon out of Kontum at different times. Mm-hmm. So yeah, we had Navy SEALs, but we did not have a Navy SEAL team do that. It was just individuals.
Did you guys work jointly together?
Yes,
did you have?
Yes. In fact, Gary Shattuck was with RT Colorado out of Kontum, and that's the only one that I was aware of. There were others there at different time periods, but he was a contemporary of mine at the time when I was there. Never ran into him, but I heard of him.
Right. So all the missions you were, did the guys sit you down, the North Vietnamese, and go, look, man, leave that aftershave behind, do this, do
Oh,
that?
yeah.
Was there certain stuff you had to eat so that you smelled like North Vietnamese?
Normally, you would want to go to the to the Vietnamese mess hall before you go out on a mission, at least one meal, so that we start to smell. You would not bathe. You would brush your teeth with salt.
Salt.
You know,
what did that do?
well, you just clean your teeth a little bit better. That's all.
Right.
And no aftershave, no cologne, no deodorant, no anything. The uniforms were sterile uniforms. No insignias. We would carry, in the canteen, we would carry canteen covers, and we would have 7 magazines of 20 rounds, actually 18 rounds in each canteen cover. I had 3 in the back and 2 in the front.
Mm-hmm.
2 canteen covers of grenades, M26 grenades, first aid pouch, serum albumin canister in the back, the blood expander, knife, 2 grenades, ERT-10 radio, knife, compass in the shirt pocket with a string, a meal already prepared in a pouch that I would have next to my body to warm that up, one that was prepared and put in my pants pocket, and then one that was unprepared in my other pants pocket. In my knapsack or rucksack, 2 canteens, plus 2 canteens on my LDB also. 2 canteens, a jungle sweater, toe popper.
Did it get that cold up there? Did it get that
Oh,
cold?
yeah.
Well, I guess up
Yeah.
in the mountains it did.
In the mountains, oh yeah. Yeah, little jungle sweater.
And people don't understand LBV, load-bearing vest.
Load-bearing equipment, yes.
Right.
And as a team leader, you would carry a red one. And then you would carry another color, yellow, green, purple, whatever. And you'd also carry a white phosphorus grenade. Mm-hmm. Those were really handy. And then in your rucksack, you would have claymore mines, your food, other food, a little bit more ammunition. And one of them would be designated to carry the extra battery for the radio. The team leader will carry his rucksack, the radio in his rucksack. Mm-hmm. So we were loaded for bear. Very little food.
And you said 7 days.
That was what the mission called for. But you would carry, you would eat just enough to, and then you save the rest. So in reality, you would have 2 meals out of that little pouch.
Uh-huh.
So you would have lunch and supper, and then you still had lunch and supper, breakfast in the other 2 here. And then you would take the one out of your rucksack and rearrange it again. But you always want to have food on you. So in the event that you have to dump your rucksack, you still have food on you.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, always.
And did the MVA guys, they've got to be jungle fighters, so they look around, figure out what you could eat, just local. You can eat this. There's a mango. I don't know what.
Oh yeah.
Or whatever, whatever you had that was non-poisonous.
Well, actually, when we went through the COC course, the combat orientation course, we got they gave us what was edible there in Vietnam. And so they give us a list, and they would have a little show and tell. You can eat that, don't eat that, that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. So yes, the COC course was a week long. And for those of us in special forces, you went to this 1 week orientation course, and it was very helpful. Very helpful. Very helpful.
But did those guys give you any advice or help you out?
Yes, they did. One of them, a man by the name of Fred Zabatowski. Fred Zabatowski eventually received the Medal of Honor, by the way. And I knew Fred when he was one of my instructors. He was one of my communication instructors back at Fort Bragg. When I got there in May, he was still recovering from his wounds that he received from earning the Medal of Honor. Mm-hmm. And I had a chance to talk to him, and he said, look, and he said, Gene, where are you going? And I says, I'm going to CNC. And he says, well, you pay close attention to small unit tactics and get into a lot of endurance running and learn and sharpen your shooting skills. Mm-hmm. And he says, that's the best advice I can give you. And
now, you didn't carry a full size. Did you have a little M4 size looking AR, or what did you have?
I had the Car 15, which was basically a short version of the M16. Mm-hmm. The Car 15 had a 10-inch barrel versus a 16-inch barrel, collapsible stock, still had the same receiver base, and had a little longer flash suppressor. But it was basically an M16, just shorter.
Right.
That was it. And for some missions, what we call special missions, POW snatches, we would take a 22 with a silencer. And never captured anyone. Never did. Had some scary moments, though.
Like what?
Well, the perfect scenario. It was an S curve trail.
Uh-huh.
And we set up our flankers. We went in heavy that time. We went in with 10. We went in with 10 individuals. Had Dewey on one side, had Chook on the other side, and he says, okay, we got 7 people coming. But I could hear some noise. And then all of a sudden, he says, don't do it, don't do it. And he ducks. And sure enough, the 7 guys go right by us. And we still hear this noise. I see Dewey get up a little bit, and then he ducks back down again. Okay. And then for the next 20 minutes or so, there is this whole unit walking right in front of me. Mind you, this is a very thick jungle.
Right.
And they're walking right by. And I am so afraid, Taco, I was so afraid to look up because I knew that if I looked up, one of those guys is going to turn around and look at me.
Yeah.
And that would be the end of it. And my leg is going up and down. I'm scared. I want to pee. There's a centipede going up my arm. And I'm just looking down at feet for 20 minutes.
Jeez.
Right in front of me.
Did you guys call an airstrike on those bastards?
Not then. We didn't. I think I took a breath at the beginning of those 20 minutes and I didn't breathe again until afterwards.
I bet, literally, yeah.
And Quinn looked at me and his eyes were as big as saucers. And he goes, what do we do now? And we were just about getting ready to move. And we looked up to Dewey, and Dewey goes like this. And then he goes back down again. And we hear some noise. And it was a smaller unit, about 40, 50 guys go right in front of us then. And so we broke the ambush. And we went to another location. We got compromised and we got out of there.
God, man, you got some great stories.
So yeah, I mean, it was just.
I've got some questions here. You take a couple minutes for questions?
Sure.
Let's see what we've got here. Right here. Here we go.
Okay. Okay, curious. Did he have access to attack air support? Definitely. The Ravens were further north from us, and never had a chance to work with them per se directly. Indirectly, we did. But yes, as an E5 at the time, I could call in TAC Air easily. I mean, I didn't have to go through anybody else. I would call a Prairie Fire emergency, or actually Quinn, because I was the assistant team leader. Quinn would call in for a tactical emergency, and we would get TAC Air just like that.
Nice.
None of that stuff of going to Washington or anything like that. No, we had it right then and there.
Nice. Okay, here's another one.
Okay. The albumin, yes. But it was in a can, and we had it in the back of us. Never had to use it.
Is that the blood?
A blood thinner, yeah, or coagulant or whatever. Yes. No, did not have to find food. We never stayed there that long.
Yeah. Did you ever have to find food in the jungle like SEER school? Well,
No.
if you go through SEER school in January of
Yes.
Of the mountains of Brunswick, like this dummy went, there's no food. There's nothing, man. We didn't eat anything for 7 days or whatever it was. It was horrible. Drank a lot of water out of streams. That was about it.
Yeah.
Let's see what else we've got. Oh, I like this, man. This is nice. This is way better than any of my college courses. Well, thanks, E&E. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Yes.
From what I was made to understand, the Tet Offensive in real life was actually far worse than what was shown in the movie Full Metal Jacket. Full Metal Jacket wasn't the Tet. Full Metal Jacket was the Battle of Way.
You're right. Battle of Way. Right.
Yeah. I mean, Full Metal Jacket. I interviewed Dale Dye. He was my second interview. And Dale claims that he was Bad Mother in, I'm sorry, he wasn't Bad Mother. He was Joker, the reporter, because he was a combat correspondent, because that was his buddy who wrote that book, and that was the Battle of Way, not Tet.
I got there after Tet. I was there for Tet of '69, which really wasn't much of anything. I mean, there were some few firecrackers going on. We had, prior to Tet of '69, a lot of our missions were sent to the a lot of the high-speed trails to monitor them prior to Tet.
See, whatever became of this guy, the XVC guy that you trusted, you said he was shot and killed.
He was shot, yes. He eventually got killed, yes.
Yeah. Now I've got a ROTC instructor, retired Army colonel. Great discussion. You know, Daryl, this would be somebody you want to bring in for your kids. Definitely. And let's see, I think that's, wait a minute. What's this say? If you run in boot socks till they're drenched, let them dry, then use them without washing them. That is dangerous. Okay. Well, Gene, I don't know what to say on that one. Hiram, that was definitely different.
It was, yeah. A lot of people, they did not wear socks in their boots. But however, you have to toughen your feet up. You just can't just put your foot inside the boot and expect to do a lot of walking with it. You have to really toughen up, your feet if you're going to go without socks.
Right. And what did you have? Did you have socks, or were you?
It depended. It depends. Sometimes I would wear socks. Sometimes I didn't.
Now, did you ever carry an AK?
No, never did. Never did. My point man did, and my tail gunner did, but I never did. Personally, myself never did.
Yeah, because I was going to say you could, if you got in a firefight and you had some dead VC there, you could definitely grab their magazines to help out.
That's true. That's true. In fact, we did that a lot of times. Very short story here. Guy's name is Lynn Black. He went in with 9 men. Unfortunately, he lost 3. But they defeated a North Vietnamese division. 10,000 men. A division, 10,000 men.
10,000?
10,000 men. They went in. The team leader got killed. Lynn was the 1-2, the radio operator. Some of his little people got killed, and they took on a North Vietnamese. What they thought was a regiment at the very beginning turned out to be a division. Years later, Lynn went back to Vietnam to locate the body of his team leader, the 1-0. And he came back to the States and he received a phone call from Vietnam. And during the conversation through an interpreter, they said, were you there at such and such a place, such and such a time? And then the Vietnamese said, who was the man that had the radio? And Lynn said, that was me. He said, you shot me 3 times. He said, I was in charge of 50 men that ambushed you when you first came off the helicopter. You shot me 3 times.
Wow.
And then during the course of the conversation, he said, by the way, the regiment that was there, he says, that was no regiment. You decimated my division.
With what? With the radio calling in airstrikes?
Calling in airstrikes. They called in airstrikes because everybody, for some reason or other, was coming after this little 6-man team.
Most deadly man's got a radio.
He's got a radio. And they were able to bring peace, death, and destruction on a North Vietnamese division, Lynn Black.
Wow. That's
and
cool.
He is, I mean, it was unbelievable. I mean, the story, and of course, it's documented and everything else. I mean, they built a wall of cadavers to hide behind, of North Vietnamese cadavers. That's what they used to fight from.
Jeez. God. How'd they get out of that one?
They got shot down once in a CH-53, the big boy. Then another CH-53 came by and picked them up and got them out of there.
Wow. That's impressive.
And members of Scarface went in to try to pick them up, and they got all shot up. The 219th South Vietnamese Air Force helicopters went in and tried to pick them up. They lost 1 or 2 helicopters. So, yes, it was a long day for them.
Right. It definitely is. I've got a great question for you. Thanks for your service. What part of the history that you lived do you want our younger generations to know? Great question, Josh.
Wow. That one. Never quit. Never quit. In better words, because I was telling you before, a lot of people will quit before they fail. Never quit. Keep on fighting. You know, I'm sure you've seen it before in your training, Taco, you know, that a lot of people quit before they fail.
Yeah.
You know, and the military programs, and a lot of them, if you want to get into an elite unit, SEALs, Ranger, Special Forces, so on and so forth, the Air Force PJs, the program is designed to make you fail because they want the cream of the crop there. You know, and so don't quit.
Never give up, never surrender.
That's it. Seriously. And that's the whole thing. And be a student of history. That's the best thing. Be a student of history. And learn from people who've been there. My greatest mentors were my former DPs from Eastern Europe. Kropik, Martin Urich, Tibor Bierbaum, and so on and so forth. These men, They were not politically correct, I'll tell you that.
Right.
And so they would tell you the truth. Sometimes the truth would kind of sting a little bit. It's okay. You're a big boy. You can handle it, and keep on marching.
And who's the guy that was at French Foreign Legion in Dien Bien Phu?
Yeah.
Was it Dien Bien?
He passed away here in 2000, I believe.
And how did he survive? Those guys got wiped out. Like, I mean, that was a serious defeat.
It depends on which at which landing zone. For example, you had Isabel, Anne Marie. Oh, geez, I can't think of the other ones right off the top of my head. But if you ever want to read a riveting book, is The Siege of Dien Bien Phu. And of course, there's Street Without Joy by Bernard Fall. But yes, read about military history, true military history. It's not Republican or Democratic or whatever. I mean, straight down the line.
Right. That's good advice. We got this one here. Can you clear this up for me? I've had an ongoing argument with someone much younger than me. I'm almost 64. That bars were still being used in NAM. I say yes. He says no. I know, talking to guys, that BARs were used up to a certain point.
Yeah.
Because riflemen had them.
Oh, yes. In fact, there were some guys on our recon teams, they would cut the barrel down just a little bit because, you know, you have that little choke deal there. They would cut it down to a certain point and carry that BAR, help to cut on the weight and, of course, the length of it, because it's a pretty long barrel deal. And that would break up an ambush very quickly.
Oh, wait a minute. I'm thinking M14, not BAR.
Yeah, the M14.
BAR, Browning automatic rifle.
Yeah, we had them. Yes, we had them. Yes. And we had the M14 also. And that got cut back a little bit. We did a lot of modifications. In fact, a good friend of mine, Eldon Bargewell, he got a North Vietnamese RPD, and that's what he carried. And he shortened the barrel down a little bit.
Really?
And he had a 100-round pouch that he would put in there.
Uh-huh. Oh, wow.
And, oh, yeah.
I see. Here we go. Did you ever have any Hmong?
Mostly the Hmongs came from the Central Highlands, and they were more on the A camps. We had the Brew, which was in that area. We also had part Rade. Most of the Rade, I think, were a little further down, a little further south. But I think we just had Brew mostly as our ethnic group. We also had Vietnamese. We had Chinese Nungs. If you were out of FOB 2, which was Kontum, you would then have the Rade, and there was another tribe I can't think of that would be part of your ethnic group.
Were they really good about bringing you into the village and feeding you and stuff, or were they afraid that they were going to get taken out?
Never did that. In fact, we would go on recruiting missions to the villages and then bring them to our base camp. In fact, I was on one of those recruiting missions one time up near My Lock. And we brought them all over to Quang Tri, put them in a C-123, and we were flying them back to Da Nang. As the airplane, the C-130 flew over the ocean there, someone said, "Look at the ocean down there," and they all went to one side of the aircraft. And Taco, I'm sure you know what happens when everybody and his kid brother goes to one side of the aircraft.
Nah, you got to do a little.
You got to do it. I mean, the load master was literally throwing them back, and we're trying to get them back to the other side. And then when we landed, we got them all in the truck, a deuce and a half. We got them in camp, and they could see the ocean. And so they jumped, and they start running towards the ocean, and they're trying to drink the water. Of course, that didn't go very well, but anyway.
Let's see. I got another one. Here we go. DOL.
Okay.
I don't know what DOL is.
I'm not sure either. I'm not sure what DOL means either. I've seen it used a lot of times that I'm not, but I'm not sure. Maybe if you could explain it a little bit more.
Scott, you or Hondo, you've got a couple minutes to give a little bit better. Oh, wait a minute. That's your motto. I get it.
Okay. Yeah. Special forces. Yeah.
DOL. I was like,
yeah,
because we were talking DOR. DOL.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see.
Udo Walther. Yeah. Never met him. He was a Sante Raider. He was, I think he was on Red Wine. No, Greenleaf. I forget which one he was on. But never had a chance to. I met him once or twice with George Petrie, but did not interact with him a lot. I only met him, like I said, once or twice. Yeah.
Yep. There you go. Udo Walther.
Yeah.
And my buddy Jimmy's like, that wouldn't have affected the C-130. I flew them for 15 years.
Well, that's true too. You know.
Yeah. Was it a C-123 or a
C-130? C-123. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I was going to say C-130. Now, C-130, I was sitting there, trimmed it out. I'm thinking I'm a stud. I got everything all trimmed up, no autopilot. Airplane's just straight and level. And I turn and I look at the guy flying with me. I take my cup, I take a sip, and I've got everything trimmed. And I put the autopilot on. And I just kind of sit back like this, like, I'm doing all right. Yeah. And all of a sudden, the autopilot goes off and the airplane is climbing up. And I immediately think, we got a runaway trim or something, and I push the nose over. As I push the nose over, all of a sudden it's really dumping now, and I'm pulling back, and then it's going up, and I just got into this oscillation, really big oscillation. And those crackers back there, those idiots were, they had some boards, some splints or something, and they would skateboard from the 245 bulkhead back to the tail. 3, 2, 1, and they would, because we got rollers all along the floor for the pallets, right? And they would, two guys skateboarding from the front of the airplane to the back. That was combined weight of maybe 450 pounds. Yeah, and that caused the airplane to. And then I was overcorrecting. I couldn't figure it out till I see the guys laughing. They trashed me pretty good. But then we would have guys in the back. We'd have the grunts or whatever, and they would crank the heat and get the guys, really hot back there, and then they'd make it real cold. It was always kind of fun to mess with some passengers. But yep, I was a KC-130 pilot, flew the mighty KC-130, and really? Let's see, Jimmy, do you know about the Bataan Death March hike this weekend? No, we did not.
No,
is that something going on? And Daryl, my older brother. Oh, Hondo. In 69. Hondo, what was your brother's name? Halleck, of course. But what was your brother's name? So
what team?
Yeah, what team and what's his first name? So, Bob.
It doesn't ring a bell, and it's not surprising. Normally, when you got to Vietnam, you were very tight with the people that you went with. Mm-hmm. And you didn't, how should we say, go out and meet new friends, mainly because of the numerous memorial services that you attended. A lot of people say that we had 100% casualties. I'd like to put it at 99.9. But we did have a lot of casualties.
Did you get wounded? Did you end up getting wounded yourself, or?
I got wounded again, slightly, and it was on August the 23rd, 1968, and I'll explain that here in a minute.
Oh yeah.
August the 23rd was the highest casualty for special forces. Our camp at Da Nang was attacked, and the unit, some people say it was the 23rd Sapper Battalion that was attached to the 123rd Regiment. I'm not sorry, to the 23rd NVA Regiment, and others paid it as a 20th Sapper Battalion. But anyway, we were hit. 167 men inside the wire. And we lost 16 Special Forces men within the first 16 minutes of the battle. The fight started around 2:30, 2:15, 2:30 at night. They had breached the wire. They started throwing satchel charges inside the transient barracks and other locations. Lieutenant Potter got killed in my room from a satchel charge that was placed outside the window. And the satchel, when it blew up, of course, I got hit by a splinter, wood splinters, and I got hit by, again, minor wounds from a grenade that was thrown earlier in the hallway. And Lieutenant Donald Dahl was able to go down the hallway and shoot the sapper that set the first satchel charge. He ended up getting wounded, and I had gone out there and reached out and grabbed him and pulled him into the second room and called out for medic. A medic showed up out of nowhere. In the meantime, a guy by the name of Melville Westerfield showed up, full uniform. His hair was neatly combed, grabbed his web. I know. It just sticks out. He went into his room, grabbed his web gear, and goes running out, and I'm yelling at him, don't go out there, you're going to get yourself killed. The medic shows up, he's taking care of Lieutenant Dahl. I go to the first room to give cover to the medic and Lieutenant Dahl. And out of nowhere comes this Oriental-looking captain. And I had met him earlier at the lunch at Chow, so I knew who he was. And I looked at him, I said, sir, you better stick close to me because you might get shot.
Yeah,
you know,
mistaken identity, sure.
And he goes, yes, I understand that. So I went back to check up on with the medic, and I heard some noise in the middle of the hallway, and didn't know what it was. Then all of a sudden, an explosion went outside the door of the transient's hooch, and right there in the doorway was his NVA. Tan shorts, AK-47. The light, of course, exposed him. It's also exposed me. So he shot at me, I shot at him, he shot again, and I shot back. I heard a thump. Right after that, I heard a voice say, anybody that needs to come out of there, wounded or whatever, come out. So I said, Captain, you better cover us. He did. So I'm helping up the lieutenant with the medic. And the medic says, my God, what's that on your shoulder? I says, what? So he starts pulling out all these splinters out of my shoulder. Went outside, and Pat Watkins is putting Hoffman on top of hood of a Jeep that is being driven by Bob Scully. And he's yelling at him and says, don't you die on me. If you do, so help me God, I'm going to kill you. And Pat Watkins ended up getting a Distinguished Service Cross.
Wow. For
his actions that night. Scully went ahead and looked at me, and I had blood all over me. I'm a bleeder, by the way. I mean, I just shave and I bleed. And so I chased him over to the dispensary. And when I got there, there was a guy on the ground, and there was a big hole on his side. And you know how you get tunnel vision? Mm-hmm. You know? And that's all I saw. There were other people there. I mean, I was aware there were other people there, but if you were to say, Gene, did you see so-and-so there? Did you see, I don't know. I just saw the guy with the big hole.
Right.
And I got out of there. I was walking back with this other guy, and the Jeep went right by us, and some people were shooting at the guy at the Jeep, and I don't know if it was Scully or somebody else. So I engaged those people. Then someone was shooting at me or at us. Then I looked up and I saw this guy fall from the water tower. Years later, I find out that Charlie the Tuna Pfeiffer shot the guy. That's another story. Anyway, that was the attack on our camp that night. There were unbelievable things happened that night. Travis Mills, I don't know if you met Travis or not, but anyway, he got shot 5 times.
Right.
Survived. Whatever you do, don't shoot him. You'll piss him off.
Here, got this from Hondo.
Okay. He was okay. It was a Phoenix program. Okay, with Joe Lutz. Joe Lutz, he was a medic at Song Bay. Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's see.
No, never had to deal with that. Now there was issues among themselves, but not with them and the Americans.
Okay.
Not with
that
us.
worked. I think that is actually everything. Yeah, that's good. I mean, when we were in Afghanistan, it got to the point that you couldn't go to the bathroom without, somebody guarding the porta potty.
Yeah.
And it got serious. You were kind of expecting a hand grenade or an AK-47 to come at you. But
I can imagine. I mean, we didn't have that problem. We had because we had the majority of them were Montagnards, and they were loyal. I mean, they were fiercely loyal, and they hated the Vietnamese, especially the North Vietnamese. They hated them. Yeah.
So how old are you now?
I am 77.
Panamanian guys look good.
We try.
I'm loving this shot because, I mean, sorry, Gene, you don't look old enough to have been fighting in 68. That's a compliment. That is a compliment.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Well, go ahead.
Yeah, everything that you see of me is me. I mean, I do not color my hair. And what scars I have are mine. I don't have tattoos. The scars that I have are kind of like a badge of honor,
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
Well, when I grow up, I'm going to be like you, my friend.
Well, you got to grow this, you see.
I can't, man. It'll come in sandy blonde, reddish looking. It'll look like crap. My wife will give me.
Oh my God, Taco. But I'll tell you one thing though. Going back to the recon teams, to my knowledge, they never surrendered. Wiped out, yes, but they never surrendered. I'm going to kind of leave you with a little quote from a very dear friend of mine. His name is Ron Owens, Big O. And he would say, his quote is this: "We few, we daring few, spat in the devil's eye."
Cool.
And that's his quote. And I always like to end whenever I'm doing a talk or something with his quote.
I like that. Well, folks, if you want to get a taste of what it was like to be, would you call that a LRP, long range patrol of what you all were doing?
Yes, long range patrol, yes.
If you guys want a taste of that, you can look over and see this surrender, not an option. And there you go. So can you get it on Amazon?
It's on Amazon, yes. I also have a second book out too, by the way.
Oh, deal. What's that called?
The name of the book is called The Reunion Mission. And it's about 20 years later.
Uh-huh.
And it takes place in Panama. And so
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
No, I have to get that one. Read that one now.
Yeah.
And of course, my dad said tell you hello. And,
I was going to ask you about your dad.
Yep. Dad said tell you hello, and I honored him with one of the coins, and this will be coming in the mail to you if you guys can see that. Tall Tales with Taco.
And it will go right there.
Right there on the back, man. And
right
my buddy Dale Punch made these, and I can't thank him enough. They are super sharp. I love them. So, buddy, I can't thank you enough for coming along. This was a great talk tonight. In the future, I'd probably like to bring you back on, and maybe we can talk about some other things that you did, and kind of explore some more stories. That's,
you know what? With those stories, I'll probably have to start off with, there I was,
inverted, naked, pulling through the six.
That's right. Flat on my back, 30,000 feet.
Yeah. Well, hey, do me a favor and call old John Wayne and tell him that I am fishing for him to come on the show. John Wayne is one of my heroes. I met him at the Ennis hog hunt. We go out there for the helicopter hog hunt, and I actually won his prized Glock that he made. The
really?
5 shows. Yeah, I was. All right. So I hate to say it, you guys listening. We had a grog night that night. We had a mess night or whatever, and they had the grog punch bowl. And I drank a bunch of this. All I remember was waking up on Tim Weiland's floor with drool coming out of my mouth. And we go down to this hog hunt, and I'm driving people around in my Ferret. And I've got a pounding headache. And I'm just kind of feeling blah, not real great. And they're having a sniper contest. And so they said 500 yards, bolt action 308, 5 out of 5 shots, fastest time. And I'm kind of like, oh, that's cool. So I watched like first 5 guys get up there and pound them out, 4 out of 5. You'd be like, bang, hit, you'd hear the ding, bang, hit, bang. And some of them were, 4 out of 5, very fast. Some of them were 5 out of 5, 30 seconds. And then this kid gets his wheelchair up there, and he hops up onto the stand. He has no legs, and he knocks out, and I've got my watch, and I'm sitting there timing it, and he knocked out 5 out of 5 in like 12 seconds. And then all of a sudden, these guys start chiding me, and they're like, hey, Marine, you got to get up there and do this. And I'm like, nah, I'm not going to get up there and shoot. They're like, you know what they're saying.
Yeah, I know that. I know that.
It's so
every month when I go to the luncheon.
Yeah, so I get up there, and the guy's like, are you ready? And I'm like, yeah, I'm ready. Pow, pow, pow. And all I hear is the hit. That night, they make the announcement, and they go, and the winner tonight is 5 out of 5, 12 seconds. Luke Sifka. Yeah. He gets his wheelchair up to the stage, and they give him the microphone. They go, Luke, what did you do in the Army? And he goes, I was a designated sharpshooter, sniper dude, whatever they were. Right. And they're like, well, that explains it. And then the next second, runner up, Taco Bell. So I go up there, and the guy goes, so Taco Bell, what did you do in the Marine Corps? Were you a sniper too? And I go, no, every Marine's a rifleman. We're all expert snipers. And they're like, yeah. I'm like, I'm a C-130, man, but every Marine's a rifleman and a sniper. And guys are giving me a lot of crap, but I love his gun. I've got that. It's a Glock 9mm, and it's I'll have to show it to you next time we're together because I carry it. It's a sweet piece, and it was a $2,000 Glock. So what he did to it, it fires like a $2,000 Glock. It's really nice. Luke got the AR. I got the Glock. It was pretty fun.
Yeah, but John is good people.
Yeah, he is. Do me a favor and get in touch with him and tell him, send him a link to the show and tell him I really want to have John Wayne on because he is truly one of my heroes. And then, of course, Judge Keith Self.
Right.
If you're listening, boss, and you're on here, you're going to be in the hot seat, and we're going to have some fun. And as you can see, it's 2 guys just sitting there shooting the bull, as it should be, right?
Right.
Telling stories. Tall Tales with Taco. Hey, listen, Gene, until I see you March 1st at the Marine Metroplex meeting.
Yes.
You have a great one. I know Phyllis is on the other side. You give her a hug for me tonight and tell her thanks for letting me borrow you. All right.
And thank your wife for letting you
I know. I'm so in I'm so in trouble. Tomorrow night, I'm gonna have to buy a really nice dinner. Anyway,
I'll call her up and find out if you did that.
oh, you know I will. It'll be good. It'll be good. Well, listen, brother, you have a great one. I'll see you next the first.
The first.
All right, Gene. Have a great night. I'll see you.
God bless.
You too. Well, folks, Gene Pugh, as I told you earlier, we had the book right there. If you're interested, Surrender Not an Option. Really good. Highly endorse it. As I've shown you before, pile of books I get and tons of reading to do. It does make for interesting downtime. So instead of watching Netflix, I'm reading books, which is great because I really have some interesting friends. And somebody asked me last night, I was doing a Tall Tales with the Raidermobile. We had the Raidermobile come out. If you guys don't know what that is, it's a 67 Lincoln Continental with the suicide doors in the back. And they brought it over to my house and we had an interview about how they got it going. And the guy asked me, what made you start to do Tall Tales? And it was the VJ Day in August. And I'm hanging out talking to World War II veterans. And I think that we need to explore and talk to more of our veterans to get their story out there because, you know, lo and behold, I really wanted to interview my best friend's dad. And unfortunately, he was taken by COVID. And I did not have that opportunity. They were on a trip. They came back. He got sick. And I really wanted to hear his stories. But do me a favor. Take the time. Meet the local heroes in your hood. Go out and just talk to somebody who has served and collect their stories and pass it on. Maybe do a interview like I'm doing here. Some fascinating folks out there. Well, until next Tuesday, you guys have a great one. I've got Colonel Mike Kennedy is going to come out. I think Mike Kennedy's coming out next trip, and we're going to talk about the Marine Corps realignment program, and it's going to be a great interview. So, adios, hasta luego, auf Wiedersehen, tschüss, sheshini au revoir, domo arigato gozaimasu, tam no shinde kudasai, ciao, arrivederci, and I will see you guys next Tuesday. You all have a good one, and until then, hoorah.